Hey, everybody, welcome to this special bonus episode. It's for a series we already have on the YouTube channel, but we're doing a podcast version and now a video version. We don't have the product with us, but we're going to talk about it based on our demo. And it's called Gear Review. And I've got with me Brian Good, who is our production supervisor for one of our campuses, Orange County, Irvine. And we got Brian Bauer here, who is our systems designer. He pretty much is in charge of designing all of our systems, AVL wide. So Brian helps spec all of our systems for anything we might need for any of our venues. So we're going to talk about the QSC L Series. And Brian, you have quite a bit of years of experience, right? Tell us how many years of experience you have in audio.
I don't completely remember, but somewhere around 30.
30 years of experience. That's crazy. And you've been on staff at Harvest for how long?
This will be 17 this year.
17 years. Crazy.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's talking about. And he knows systems. He does his homework.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted him on this gear review.
I think people would be shocked at how much old gear we use here.
Yeah.
And how we keep it up.
We usually don't do upgrades, or we haven't for a while done upgrades for what? Like, it's been
a
10
long
years
time.
sometimes or more. I think the lighting system was 13 years before we upgraded. The PA was even longer, probably 20, 30 years.
PA was about 21, 22 years.
22 years,
The speakers outside,
So
people are shocked when I tell them about 23 years old.
Yeah, we make stuff last here, and a lot of that is due to Brian's work and his research and his skills that he brings. So that's why I want him on this review. And let's dig into it. We had the opportunity, thanks to one of our coworkers, Josh Burns. He's really well connected with QSC, and he knows like the main designer over there.
Yeah, Abe. Abe is one of the main designers
Abe.
for QSC.
And they sent us the QSC L. What is the model? I guess it's just
the L108.
108.
Yeah.
The 108s, which are their mini line array series. It's replacing the KLAs. And we got to try it out. Here's some pictures of it from our pastor's luncheon, because we work at Harvest, and we did it for our Crusade kickoff lunch that we do every year. And we used it with a full band inside a very echoey room.
It was
a really weirdly shaped room.
I was telling Brian when we did that event, it was probably one of the hardest rooms I've mixed sound in.
Yeah, and then we were in the corner, too.
Yeah, we were in the
It's
corner.
an awkward shape. Essentially, if you haven't seen it, here's another picture of it. It's the lobby bar area of the Honda Centers where we did it. So it's a very not ideal room for events, but we pulled it off pretty well, I think.
They told me that room used to be the outside entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be outside, now it's inside. And so, yeah, give me your guys' like initial thoughts on it, first assumptions when you saw it, and then what you came to realize about it. How about that?
I first saw it at NAMM, and, walking in the room and them doing the demo with it, I was actually really impressed by it. Just by the things you can do, just the Dante capability and being able to go analog if you need to. And then the new array processing that you can do in the speakers as well. And just hearing it and comparing it to like the KLAs that we have, I mean, they sound a lot better in the technology that they're using with the speakers now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was sick at NAMM. Or I didn't get to go to NAMM because I was sick, so. But
Yeah, you get more hands-on experience.
yeah.
with it.
I definitely the size. I mean, that's a big thing
They're
for
very
load in,
light.
load out.
Yeah.
Especially like I do so many things where I'm hustling on my own, like gigs like that. And then even around here, we'll have one guy assigned. And if we want to throw something up, the thing I like about them compared to the KLAs is that they have an 8-inch model. The 12-inch, I'm sure, probably sounds good too, but the 8-inch is just so easy to move. And then the fact that you can pull mount 3 of them, so that, like you saw in the pictures, that's what we did, is we pull mounted 3. And then instead of curving them to hit the people, because we're in such a reverberant room, we just put them in a straight line so that the high end beamed more towards the back of the room. And we were able to cover the entire room without putting any delays in. And it sounded good up front, good in the back.
I think that's what impressed me the most, was not adding any delays.
Yeah.
Because I thought we were going to need to.
And then the processing, when I first set them up, Brian was working on front of house, and I put them up with nothing connected. I turned them on. First, they notified me, like they're supposed to, that they're not in the configuration they were last time.
Right.
So I just held the button for, it's like 3 or 4 seconds, and then it resets them into the new configuration. And then you just set them up and tune them for what you're doing.
Because it could detect where each speaker is, and then when you connect them together,
Yeah.
it's like do-do-do-do,
Yeah,
sets it
it
up.
has a little IR on the front, and then it goes, do you want to reset them? The funny thing is when I took the little test on QSC on how to set them up, And in the only question I got wrong, they said, if it's in the wrong configuration, what do you do? Do you reset them or do you put it in the proper configuration? And of course, I'm like, in live, I would never pull all the speakers down and try to figure out the configuration.
Right.
I just reset them and retune them. So,
Crazy.
so that was like, I'm going, I don't even know that reconfiguring would have been worth my time because I just held the button, it reset all of them to the new configuration, took into account the fact that they're in a straight line instead of curved. It took into account that there was 3 speakers there. I didn't have to do any of that figuring out. And then I set the crossover for the subs, because we had them on top of subs, so it was speakers, pole, subs. And then Brian said the high end's a little harsh, so I went in and there was a high cut, and I went in and turned it, and it adjusted it for all 3 speakers simultaneously. So I didn't have to go speaker. It was just like one quick setup, and
That's great.
I mean, that's pretty much all we had to do to the system is just pull out the harshness out of it, and it sounded great.
And I looked it up. It's only 30 pounds for each speaker, which is nuts. Because I think the KLA is at least 50, I feel like.
But I don't know if it's that much, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
You can only
It's
do
heavy.
2 on a
It's
pole,
hard. It's
and on the
hard to get it
12-inch you can do 2 on a pole also.
Yeah.
But I think like for most of my events, I'd probably do the 8 because the 8's 100 degrees.
Yeah,
And
the
so
108,
you can
right?
really, that was the other thing about this event is we were close to the audience, but yet the front row could hear everything because of how wide they are.
Yeah, I like that they're 100 degrees. I think that for an 8-inch speaker and being 100 degrees.
And then if you're using with the sub, I mean, most of the QSC, most of the QSP speakers that are like 12-inch are almost too bassy for me, unless I'm doing like DJ stuff.
It's true. What were some cons you thought about it though? Like some things that were like, I wish this was done a little better.
I wish, and I brought this up with QSC when I dropped them off, and it was something that me and Brian talked about. It's in their array processing in their app. I wish you had EQ control. So I wish you were able to control
Sys. Yeah, SysNav.
Yeah.
System Navigator.
Yeah.
And that would be something I think we didn't really dig into that part of it because we didn't have them as long as we could have messed with them because we would have tried them like with the array frame in a complete LAN array. But yeah, definitely if you're going to have that access to control them, EQ would be huge. But I think that'd be an easy software modification.
Yeah,
and I bet you anything they'll come out with that later. But then you have to have it through the network port too. So you either have to use that for network or Dante or both. So you'd be doing a dual network. We did them analog, but I mean, it was easy that way too. Yeah. The only thing I noticed was, but we were also, I think, using some beta speakers, is that the button was already worn out on 1 or 2 of them. Now, the good thing is because we're using them as one array, I just was able to go to the speaker above it and use that button to control the other 2 speakers. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's something just because it was beta and the knob and button were worn out from just being abused because they've been handing them around to people.
Yeah.
So, and then we also were talking about liking to do outside events, and I noticed there was some threads that looked like there could be a cover that they're going to make for it to cover it up for like outdoors. Or installs or something. I
think
that'd
everyone
be cool.
in the lighting world is going IP65. I'm surprised the sound world isn't doing that with these new speakers coming out, honestly.
Yeah, it's something where
hard,
I think a lot of the times, like even the K12s and a lot of those speakers, they're not meant to be outside, but they either make a cover for it or they just get wet and people deal with it until they break.
Exactly.
It would be nice to have more like stuff that's thought of with weather in mind. But also, like when you have an amplifier built into the speaker, you have to think about thermals and even more than LEDs. I think the amp's going to produce more power, so there's going to be more heat. So you got to think about how that vents and stuff.
Very true. What would you say this is ideal for as far as venues?
Oh my gosh, I think it's great for house of worship. Like if you're in a small kind of auditorium and you're doing worship in there, I think it's great for that. Just for pop-up speakers or satellite campuses.
Yeah.
Weddings, I think great for weddings and,
DJ setups?
DJ setups, yeah.
It is going to be a little expensive. I figured for the 6 that we had, retail would be around $14,000.
Yeah.
So
it's quite an investment. I think for like satellite campuses, it seems like a great investment for those kind of situations.
Yeah.
For us, we do a lot of outdoor events, so I think for us it'd be great.
Yeah, it definitely. Well, especially because we already have the KLAs. The KLAs, there's great things about them, but one of the struggles is just that they're fixed point.
Right.
because they're a constant curvature array.
Yeah.
Where this, you could, like with the thing we did, I mean, with the KLAs, we would have been hitting the people up close by tilting them. And then it would have tilted towards the ceiling, so it would have dealt with more reflections, probably needed a delay. The fact that we
Right.
could do the thing we were doing, like with lighting, you know how it's like if you overlap more than one light, you get a hot spot.
Yeah.
And so that's what we were doing with the speakers, is by overlapping the speakers, we're getting a hot spot of high end to the rear of the room.
Right.
And they sounded really good the music sounded good, right?
Yeah, the music sounded great.
And then once we got the people to hold the mic in the right spot, the vocals sounded a lot better. So.
Yeah.
Totally. Mic technique, it's important.
Yes,
Yeah.
people. The thing I like about the array is you can set your points before you even adjust it. So with one person, you can set, your points, pull from the bottom box, and then set your array if you're flying it. I think that's an amazing
and you can
feature.
set them once they're up too. They have a way of, you can just lift up and adjust it. And then one thing that's helpful for people who aren't like familiar with line technology and line theory of how line array speakers work is, QSC has a training online, and they mention some of the things that are important about angling speakers
Right.
and things to avoid, so that people who are not as experienced, they're using these for small events like we're doing, could come up with a angle and a setup that's the way it's supposed to be. Because once you get them up, if you put them in the wrong angle, the speakers are going to warn you, and you have to do all the setup manually. And
Right.
so for people who are less experienced, it's easier to let the speaker just do what it's doing.
Totally.
Which, I mean, even our setup, it was the first time I'd ever even seen them or touched them, and I figured out how to set them up within a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, it's very
Very user-friendly.
User-friendly, yeah.
And granted, I do have the background to be able to do that quickly,
Right,
but
of
if I can
course.
figure it out in a couple minutes, then most people with watching a few videos on QSC's website
Yeah.
should be able to pick it up quickly.
Totally. I think it's a great product. I don't really see
Yeah.
a ton of cons other than what you stated.
Yeah.
Big benefits. Obviously, the cost is quite the investment, but I think long term, it's going to be a great product for anybody.
And hopefully the hardware lasting, hopefully that's one thing I'm not sure about, but
Yeah.
it's brand new, so it's hard to say, because
Yeah.
we have a video for the QSC KLA,
Right.
and on that one, there's a couple people have been like, I wish things that are plastic are metal.
Yeah.
And
Not
it's
everything
like,
needs to be plastic.
yeah, and it's understandable. It's like you're trying to hit a cost that people can
Right,
afford.
yeah.
And this one is a little more expensive, but it did look like there was quite a bit of metal in there. I didn't
Yeah.
notice too
Yeah,
much
they
plastic.
they definitely did say when we were at NAMM and they were doing the demo review that they listened to the people. So
Yeah.
whatever they
Well,
said,
Q&A
they
with
made.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our KLA video is very popular, so I mean, people are very interested in QSC.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, there you go. That's a review of the QSC L line array, specifically the 108 model. A great product. If you'd like to get a quote on it, reach out to your local vendor. And if you need help, we got some links to great vendors below that can give you some quotes on those. Or, hit up your local, I don't know, Sam Ash. But either way, we got links below to help you. And again, thanks to QSC for sending us the demo. We really appreciate it. And yeah, tune in next time.